there was another time when they had to have added troops up front. They lost so many soldiers that went back to the first aid station, and so they needed replacements. And they didn't know who to get to drive. The rear echelon didn't know who to get to drive an old truck. They had a three-quarter, what they got, three-quarter ton, they call it. That's what we called it then. It was a bigger truck, bigger than Jeeps. And they could take about 10 or 20 soldiers on it. Had seats in there that they could sit down. But then they picked on me. They said, he's a good driver, get him. And so the captain sent me back to get this other vehicle with all these replacement troops on it. And the thing had a broken muffler. And here I was going up to the front with troops on the truck, and it sounded like a tank with a broken muffler. And I had to go down a steep hill to go into this town where the troops were pinned down. And I thought, well, how am I gonna go down there with this thing making all this noise? And they're not going to fire on me. They had big guns down there, and they could hear me up on the top of that hill, and so they could even see me on that road. I thought, how am I going to do that? And it was kind of dusk, getting dark, and I said, I know what I'll do. Just within my own mind, the Lord gave me the wisdom. I said, I know what I'm going to do. I know what tanks sound like when they're making turns and all. I know what they sound like. So I drove it like a tank. I made the motor roar. And just as I was at the edge of the top of the hill, I was supposed to make a dead right-hand turn, a left-hand turn. And this thing wouldn't turn. It was a kind of steering that didn't turn like a Jeep. And so I just kept going with my engine like a tank, making these little turns around that big that curve. And I made the most noise I could ever make. And there I was, I made the turn, and I was on down this hill, and I made it roar like a tank, And I thought, if they know this is a tank, they're not going to fire on me. They're going to go run and hide. So I got all the way down the town, and I dropped off all the ammunition and the food and the clothing that they needed, and I was on the way back. I said, now they're going to get me on the way back. How am I going to drive this and make all that noise going back? And I was able to do it. And I made that noise going back up the hill, and nobody fired on me. So I thought, well, I outsmarted them. So that was an experience that I think only God put in my mind. And I really made that thing roar. And so I had a lot of fun even at that, even in spite of the danger. I had fun. I told my buddies what I had done, and so they laughed about it.